We're going to dive right into our next session with Nate Smith, Senior Project Manager to Upslope Advisors. Nate, the stage is now yours. We'll give Nate just a moment here. Thank you for your patience. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so we'll get coordinated and be back in just a moment. Excellent. Welcome, Nate.
forgot to turn on the camera and all that.
No
Yeah,
worries.
could you thank you, and could you go ahead and let's dive in. Yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about today. I mean, what's really interesting from the presentations we've already heard is that I did humanitarian mapping before OpenStreetMap. I wouldn't recommend it. It was terrible. It's such a huge advancement in that has served the world so well. I also did address matching before what Mario shared with us, and from Tiger Files, and it was terrible, but it kind of worked, and we moved forward, and we built on it, we grew from it. Also, I worked with Esri coverages and shapefiles for many years, and it's amazing to see how the technology has advanced. But what we're going to talk about here is a effort to try and even go one step further within agencies. Now there's becoming a lot of data about what they've done, and so there's we understand there's models that can demonstrate where hazards might occur and things like that, and but they're starting to get this body of data behind them of high resolution data that we have to figure out ways to make use of. Otherwise, it's just a study in archiving. So let's go to the next slide, please. So we can go one back. Yeah, so my name is Nate Smith. I work for Upslope. I'd like to thank New Light for inviting me to talk. This is good timing for me as we're just bringing these ideas together. So sort of the disclaimer on the front, this is not real yet. It's coming together, and I'd welcome ideas from anybody at the end of this session today, or as you think of them later on. As it says here, I've used geospatial tools to respond to disasters from Maryland to Mozambique and many points in between. I worked a long time at USAID and at DHS, GMO, and other federal agencies. I would like to thank Aaron for turning my my lecture into a lightning talk, and I think you should all thank him for that as well. Next slide, please. So our importation of slides has caused things to go a little wonky in the formatting. But what it says, the bottom line up front, is the need to develop a hurricane prediction model to expedite the agency decision making. So we're supporting an agency right now. It is a small business administration, but it really doesn't matter because any agency that has a response role and does an intervention and records information about that intervention can start to use a methodology like this. And as I said, we're bringing it together, and we're trying to figure out how agencies can get value out of those data sets that they're going to be storing, and it's going to be taking up a ton of space. It might as well be useful. So we were challenged by our agency to solve a problem with that data and to look at how could we help them right size their initial response, because that is critically important to ensuring that the response is as swift as possible, and that assistance is brought to the individuals that are affected by disasters as swiftly as possible. Next slide, please. So the proposed outcomes are, we want to be able to, as I said, inform leadership, get them off on the right foot. We also want to codify this decision-making process to make sure it's consistent and it retains the wisdom of past experiences and is repeatable and reliable. We also want to take advantages, as I've suggested, in advances in data and data holdings and computing, geospatial computing technology. It's all out there. Let's start to put it together. Next slide, please. So this is where things start to get technically interesting. So our goal here is to we want to compare past impacts of disasters to past responses. So it's far more challenging than you think. If you and we found that well, we haven't found it yet. Let's just say we hypothesize that physical damage to structures is a major indicator for the type of activity that our agency is looking to perform. So loans. Much of that is to repair structures. So we see structures as being central to the analysis. So if you see the chart here, we've got damage to structures from the event, the earthquakes, hurricane, whatever the hazard is, to agency interventions. So it could be loans, it could be grants at FEMA, it could be anything else depending on what the mission of your organization is. So what makes this unique is that we want to generate a curve from an analysis of the historical data, but we realize there's significant differences between the way a tsunami, an earthquake, a hurricane, a tornado, how these things are going to manifest themselves. So there's no one size fits all approach. So what makes us unique in the vision we have right now is to use the power of processing and big data repositories to create this damage curve. So to identify the relationship between the intervention and the impacts uniquely for each event based upon the professional intuition of the emergency manager that's going to be running the analysis. So we may look at all tornadoes. We may look at tornadoes in Tornado Alley or some abstract geography like that, or just in Alabama or something, or some places with similar economic and socioeconomic configurations. So we're trying to figure out how to nuance that. The key to it being geospatial is that if the goal here is as our current thinking is that we'll aggregate the intervention data and the damage data to the census geography, and also get the benefit of the census demographic and the decennial survey data that's related to those polygons, and get even more the ability to even do even more robust analysis to refine that model even sharper. Next slide, please. So this is a bit of an eye chart, and it did get a little jumbled on the way into whatever this technology is we're using for broadcast, but you could generally get the event of it. So at the top, we're looking to, in the preparedness phase, is to create a historical event response database, which has whatever damage assessment we can get, and we're looking throughout the interagency to try and get good detailed damage assessment, perhaps like from FEMA Civil Air Patrol or the other field or Cal Fire, for example, if you saw the data sets come in very quickly from that event in the Palisades fire. So we want to have that. We want to relate that through the declaration number. So this is declared disasters with the agency's historical activity. So in the case of our agency, how many loans did we process? That and or maybe how many dollars or whatever it is. And then so we're going to create a repository of that. Maybe we haven't decided, maybe at the county level, maybe at the census tract level. And then what we'll do is when an event occurs, we will go in and filter and create a dynamic model that best matches what we expect the hazard to do. So a similar hurricane or a similar tornado, as I described earlier. Then we'll run the model. We'll run HAZAS perhaps, or some other estimate of building damage. We'll run that through the model, and then we'll get some estimation of the scale of the activity that the agency will perform. Next slide, please. So very quickly, if you look at this flow chart, you'll see that initially this is the use case workflow. As you see, we'll identify the threat, the hazard. Okay, so it's a tornado in Tornado Alley. We'll go look through the database and find the best historical events. If we don't find a great match, maybe we'll just grab tornadoes and just it doesn't have to be super nuanced. The application will create that damage curve from those events. We'll then run the HAZAS model or other means, depending on what the hazard is, if it's in HAZAS. And then we will integrate that and perform the analysis, which will kick out a report. If you're familiar with the USGS pager system, that one pager report is kind of what we're envisioning of a an automated with a professional evaluation before delivery, but not totally relying on the machines. Then at 6 at the top, you'll see that we'll evaluate the event, and we'll turn that information back into a record that goes into the historical response events database that is in fact available to be used for the next event should a similar event occur. So next slide, please. So we see the benefits here. This will get value from the historical data. It'll codify best practices. It gets the best of human and machine. So we get the intuition of the emergency manager and the power of the processor and the knowledge of the database. It brings them all together. And it'll contribute to the future, because we feel like we don't know really what else we're going to think about once we get into this. If we can make this work and activate those repositories of previous responses, those databases, we'll probably come up with a lot more analytical tools and ideas. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, we're very early in this process. We're reaching out to make sure that we can find some good data and find partners, and to this is sort of late conceptual phase here, where we're starting to lean in and prototype and experiment. We're hoping to have a hurricane-focused version for this year's hurricane season. But the key principle here is that we believe that sort of the mantra of our team and what drives us is that suffering equals misery times time. So we're trying to reduce the suffering of the American people. We can't affect the misery. That already happened. Their house is broken or what have you. But if we can do anything to reduce the time that they're displaced and uncomfortable, then that's where we're going to devote our energy. And we see a tool like this to affect, to right size the activation within our agency, to ensure that they come in, strong and finish as soon as possible, rather than, a more patient roll up. Sort of, if you picture a bell curve, we don't want a bell curve. We want to spike out of the gate and then tail off over time. So we want to learn from the past, train to win, engineer for success, and design it for growth. And next slide. And that is all I have. Again, I'll hang for questions at the end. My contact information. I'd love to have any sort of insights that people might have, especially on data sources and other means. So thank you very much.
Nate, thank you so much for a really excellent discussion, exploring a geospatial lens on disaster forecast modeling.